So this happened a few years ago when I was about 15, driving my sister home after picking her up from a friend's place. The street was empty and darkness lay heavy all around. It was the kind of quiet that isn't peaceful and it gnaws at you and stirs a prickling at your skin. You know what I mean. The kind of silence that feels like the night itself is watching you. This road I knew backwards and forwards, every crack in the pavement, every faded white line. I'd been on this same stretch 100 times, never thought twice about it. That night everything felt different. I was driving at a steady pace and my mind was quiet. My sister sat beside me snoozing after a long day. The radio was off because we liked it silent at night, and the hum of the engine was almost like a heartbeat in the dark. Then I glanced up at the rear view mirror, and I saw her. I'll never forget that moment. There she was sitting behind the passenger seat. I mean, she was just there, like she belonged. Long dark hair hung around her face, and her pale skin looked almost ethereal under the streetlights. She wore a white t-shirt, but it looked dirty, like she'd been out in the elements. Her eyes looked hollow, like she hadn't slept for years. No expression but a deep, sorrowful stillness, and she stared straight at me. I froze. My foot stayed on the gas pedal, but my chest tightened. My first thought was the reflection was a trick of light, or maybe a droplet on the window. I couldn't believe it, but when I turned to look behind me, the seat was empty. I looked again at the mirror, and there she was, as if she'd never moved. My heart hammered harder than I've ever known. My hands trembled at the wheel. I tried blinking to clear my vision, but she didn't clear. She just sat there, silent. The radio came alive for a second with static, like someone had just switched the dial. Then it went dead again. The only sound now was the soft hum of the engine and the tires rolling on asphalt. My sister still slept. I didn't dare wake her. I needed her to keep sleeping, needed to convince myself this was something I'd imagined. So I dared to speak. I said out loud into the void, "I see you there. You can ride with me if you want, but please don't scare me." My voice sounded shaky and small, swallowed by the darkness. I expected nothing but silence. Instead she nodded, just slightly but enough that my stomach dropped. Something stirred behind her eyes as she turned her head to face the window. She didn't move her body, just shifted her gaze as if looking at something far away. The road stretched on forever ahead. I kept driving, but I wasn't driving. My mind raced and everything felt surreal. I don't know if I sped up or slowed down. I couldn't look in the mirror again and couldn't look away. I did both, and it felt like two different worlds were glimpsing at each other through a tiny window in glass. Either she was going nowhere, or she was going with me, but I didn't know what to do or what to feel. Fear was there, but more than that, it was a deep, aching sadness in her presence. I don't know how long this went on. Minutes might have felt like hours. I must have passed my exit 2 or 3 times before I snapped out of it. I turned onto our street. The headlights cut through the houses and trees lining the road. As the familiar landmarks drifted by, I stole another look in the mirror. She was gone. Just nothing. Empty seat. Quiet night. My heart pounded so loud I thought someone might hear it from outside the car. I pulled into the driveway and sat with the car running, hands still gripping the wheel. The night outside the windshield was nothing but the hush of suburbia. My sister stirred and yawned. I shook my head and said, "We're home." She didn't know why I looked pale. She didn't know why I was so quiet. She just got out of the car and headed inside. I stayed for a moment, staring out at the empty street. No sign of anything strange, just silence. I slid out of the driver's seat and closed the door gently. I touched the back seat, and there was nothing except the faint warmth left by my sister. No sign of anything. No drops of dirt, no hair, no marks, just the upholstery. I closed the car and followed my sister inside. My heartbeat didn't calm. Sleep didn't come easy that night. Every creak in the house set my nerves jangling. Shadows in the corners seemed alive. The next day I told my parents I couldn't explain it, but I felt like someone had been in the car with us. They nodded kindly. My mom told me I was tired and imagining things. My dad told me not to let it worry me. I didn't argue. Maybe I hoped my parents were right. But I wasn't wrong. I knew what I saw. I felt the chill of her presence, and the weight of her stare. It wasn't fear that lingered. It was sorrow, and emptiness. After that I drove the same road at night again, but I never saw her. The mirrors stayed normal, nothing crept into the back seat. But I'd learned to check every time I glanced back. I'd tense up just thinking about it. I slept with the window cracked the next few nights. I even kept the radio on low sometimes for comfort. It felt like if I heard voices, the silence would be less oppressive. I searched online, searched Reddit. I found stories of phantom passengers. Some say lost souls. Some say hallucinations from carbon monoxide poisoning. Some say I was just tired. But none of them matched the weight I felt. None of them matched her stare. Some mentioned the woman in white, a common ghost that appears to drivers. But she was never that tragic figure drifting by the road. This was different. She looked worn down, like she'd walked too long and waited too late. I tried talking about it with friends. They laughed it off, said I have a good imagination. But those nights I couldn't shut it from my mind. The ache in my chest, the feeling that someone watched me even when I was alone. I wondered what she wanted. Did she want help? Did she want someone to notice her? Did I help? I don't know. I had dreams about her for months, waking up afraid to open my eyes. The dreams were silent, walks, empty roads, a distant shape in the lights, white shirt, dark hair, then nothing. Wake up, heart throbbing, hands sweaty. Years passed. I'm older now. I drive different roads. I moved cities. I think about her sometimes. I wonder if she still rides with someone else. If someone else glances back and sees her and freezes. I hope she found where she was going. I hope she isn't stuck there in the mirror. And sometimes late at night I still glance in the rearview mirror just in case. I remember this clear as day from a few years back. It was late. I had just finished an overnight shift at work, and I was on my usual route home. The road cuts through thick woods on one side and open fields on the other. No streetlights, no other cars, just darkness stretching out ahead of me. My only company was the low hum of the engine and the soft glow of the dashboard lights. I turned onto that two-lane stretch where everything changes. You can feel the night closing in. You can feel it pressing against the windows. My headlights cut a path forward, but it was only enough to keep me from crashing into a tree or rolling into a ditch. Beyond that, I was on my own. I eased the speed down just to stay steady. I was alert but tired. No one was around. The silence pressed on me. Then something hit me from the corner of my eye. I glanced right and saw a figure standing just off the road, maybe 50 feet ahead. It looked like a person, but everything about it felt wrong. The hoodie they wore glowed white under my beams. No legs showed, no face, just the hood. It didn't feel like a living person at all. I slammed on the high beams without thinking. The light flashed up, and in that instant the figure moved. They didn't walk, they glided, they drifted across the road. I watched frozen in the driver's seat as they slid through the light, and then they vanished. Just like that, no sound, no movement in the trees or bushes, nothing, just empty darkness where they had been. My heart slammed in my chest like it wanted out. My head snapped to the mirror as if I expected to see them behind me. But there was nothing, no headlights, no form, no eerie shifting shadows, just emptiness. I forced my eyes forward and pushed the accelerator. I didn't slow down. I didn't stop. I just drove. My whole body was tense. My grip on the wheel was tight enough to leave grooves in my palms. I drove that stretch 100 times, but tonight everything was different. Every tree looked like it might be hiding something. Every sound felt like footsteps that weren't there. I reached the edge of the woods and turned onto a well-lit suburban road. I flicked off the highs and slowed. I stole another glance at the rear view, but there was no figure, no ghost, just me, just the silence and the streetlights and the houses I'd seen 100 times before. But it wasn't the same. I sat in the driveway for what felt like a long time with the car still running. I tried to convince myself I must be imagining it. Tired from work, seeing shapes and shadows, but I knew what I saw wasn't normal. I walked inside and couldn't sleep all night. Every breeze felt like something brushing against the window. Every creak in the house sounded like someone walking down the hall. When morning came, it felt like I'd been holding my breath for days. I told my coworkers about it. They listened politely, said it was probably sleep deprivation or headlights on a deer or some trick of the light. But I could tell none of them believed me. None of them admitted it could be real. A few weeks later, I talked to a guy I'd met online who drove delivery routes on back roads at night too. He told me he'd seen a figure in a white hoodie just standing on the side of the road. He flicked his high beams and it moved quickly across the road. Same vanish, same eeriness. He never said he thought it was a ghost, but the way he described it, I could tell he felt it too. That's when I started reading about it. Some call it a nocturnal guardian or a solitary wanderer. Others say it's a lost spirit unable to cross over. Some dismiss it as sleep hallucinations mixed with fatigue and adrenaline. But for me, it didn't feel like hallucination. It felt like a being with a presence. The way it floated just felt unnatural, not like someone running or jumping. Like a distortion in time or space. A shape that didn't belong in the normal rules of the world. Later that year, I found online pictures taken by road workers on that stretch. Long exposures taken for night maintenance. One photo showed a vague shape near the tree line, a smear of white glowing across where someone shouldn't be. No hoodie, but something white and unnatural where no light belonged. I keep hoping I'm wrong, hoping I misunderstood, but I haven't returned to that stretch at night. I changed my route, took well-lit roads or highways with other cars. I never saw the figure again, but I never lost the feeling either. If someone asks me about that night, I'll say it felt like something stopped me, like I looked around and found out I wasn't alone on that deserted road. Something glided through the beams and back into the darkness, something that left no tracks, no sound. I never learned its name, I never found its story, but I know nights in the dark feel different now. I know that stretch of road holds something that doesn't belong to this world. I know I'll never drive it again after dark. And I know sometimes the night isn't empty but watching. I remember this like it was yesterday. It happened on a rural highway through New Mexico just before dawn. I was driving alone on a long stretch of asphalt that runs through desert and scrub hills. No streetlights and no other traffic. The world was a dark nothing until my headlights cut a path ahead of me. I'd been on the road for hours. My shift had ended late and I was tired. My eyes were half shut and I was banking on a smooth drive so I could doze off when I got home. I glanced at the speedometer and realized I'd slipped to about 50 miles per hour. I tapped the cruise control to keep me steady. That's when it appeared. Without warning there, it was in my rearview mirror. A car moving exactly as fast as me but without headlights. Blacked out dashboard and windows dark as night. No glow of taillights. No reflection. It just paced me. I watched it for seconds that felt like hours. My foot hit the gas and the car kept pace. I slowed again and it matched my speed. It stayed there perfect and steady. The mirror showed only empty darkness apart from the shape of the tail end of a car. I reached a downhill curve and switched lanes to pass a slow semi-truck up ahead. Before I moved over, I looked in the side mirror. Still there. No lights, just an outline in the gloom. My heart began to pound. I sped up and passed the semi. The tailgater stayed in the same lane and position, matching my speed now at 60, changing nothing. No sign it was slowing to let me merge back in. This was a solid dark shape. Not a trick or reflection. I moved back into my lane in front of the semi. But even with 2 lanes there, it stayed behind me. A dark mass pacing me on a dark road. I turned on the brights for a moment. No glare reflecting back. No outline of sheets of glass. Just nothing. I turned them off again. My breath came in ragged, shallow bursts. The engine hummed under my hands on the wheel. The desert stretched out on either side, silent. My radio was off because radio static felt safer than music this far from home. I focused on the rear view. It moved with me but not nearly close enough to hit if I braked. Like it was tethered to me by some silent thread. Moving when I did. Still there. Mile after mile. I thought of pulling over, but it was just me and that car, miles from any turnout. If I stopped, that dark car would appear behind me and still not have headlights. It stopped being rational after a while and just became a waiting game. A test. How long could I stand it? How long could it stand it? I passed a mile marker sign. It came up fast and I glanced back again. No lights. Just an ever-present void shaped like a car. The digital numbers on the dash glowed 67. I nudged 75. It kept pace. It was glued to me. I tried rolling the windows down to listen for idling engine or exhaust notes. Nothing. Dead silence. Just the wind rushing by and the hum of my wheels. My eyes stung. My neck hurt from staring into the mirror. I thought of calling someone but reached for the phone and realized service was gone miles ago. No cell tower for hundreds of miles. No help. Just me and that presence behind me. Something ancient and wrong in the dark. Breathing with me without sharing a single sound. Traffic finally picked up. A truck appeared in the other lane and passed me by. In its mirror I glimpsed my tailgater retreating off the road not far behind. When the truck raced past I looked ahead and saw the red glow of semis behind that big rig. I sped up and passed in the slow lane. As the traffic went by the tailgater faded into the distance. When I looked back again it was gone. No shiny metal. No dark silhouette. Nothing. The mirror showed empty asphalt disappearing into morning light. The sun peeked over the horizon and I felt my pulse slow. I pulled into a truck stop at the next exit. I parked under a sodium lamp and sat in silence. Sweat covered my shirt and my hands trembled. My head hurt. I watched the rearview mirror of the pickup next to me. Only daylight and normal cars passed through. I told the attendant what happened. He asked when it happened. I told him just now. He nodded and said, he once saw a car tailgate him with no lights. He said it vanished as soon as traffic picked up. I drank coffee and stared at the road. My stomach tightened whenever a shadow passed beneath the lamp canopy. When I left the truck stop it was full morning light. I looked around searching for the car in every mirror. Nothing. I felt a pit in my chest start to fill with relief. That dark presence stayed behind. Somewhere in the night. I drove on gray highway until I reached home city limits. I went inside, showered and poured my day into chores. But I couldn't forget. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched from behind by something without lights. Something that wasn't trying to kill me. Something that just existed to follow. Days later I found a PDF scan of an old highway patrol file from the 1970s. A trooper chasing a headlightless car that would disappear when he flicked on his flashers. Then reappear seconds later blocking the road. The file said the car vanished at sunrise. That detail put a chill down my spine. I told friends about it. No one believed me. They laughed and said I was tired. Stress from work. That in daylight it made no sense. I stopped driving that route late at night. I changed my schedule. I never passed that curve under a moonless sky again. But sometimes when my headlights fade or a car creeps into my mirror I press on the brake to check. And the mirror is empty. Only dark roads stretching back. I think some things move in the dark that leave no trace. For me the road is haunted by a tailgater who has no lights, no sound, no name. Just a shape that vanishes at first light.
If you liked the video, don't forget to like and share. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos like this.